Hello YouTube, Damo_23 here, and welcome back to another episode of Leicester Reborn. In today's episode, I'm actually going to explain and showcase the youth players that I have been poaching over the last couple of seasons, and the reasons why we're doing that, and what that means for the long-term vision of this save. If you are enjoying the content, give it a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Of course, in the links down below is my Twitch link. I'm not currently live right now filming this. It's kind of something I'm doing while watching the golf, but in saying that, a lot of guys have actually come from the YouTube to the Twitch and vice versa. So come check us out live. We stream most days, and it's one of the reasons why I'm doing this video is because it's going to be my long-term save to the end of FM. Without further ado, let's get into the episode by starting just with the results since we last met. If you want to watch who we signed for this season to complete this challenge, not that we have to complete it this year, but I think we've got a squad that could complete it this year. You can watch that, who we signed, the money we spent, and of course the 3-2 win against Arsenal. Since then we beat Villa 4-1, we dominated Leeds and won 3-0 against 10 men. We had over 2.5 XG against West Ham, only decided to score 1 goal. At least they got injured. Me and Lynch started the next game and he scored. He is one of the kids we are going to be speaking about in today's episode. So how we're going to do this is, what is the goal of this save at the moment? And what's my long-term future of this save? Because it's going to be my last save till FM24 and the beta comes out where I'll do a Spurs beta save. Well, there's a couple aspects. Firstly, this save here, the goal was to win the championship, tick. Win the FA Cup, tick, and nearly went back to back. Win the Cabaret Cup, which we lost the semi-final to, which we really should have beat United in the semi last year. Win the Premier League, which we finished second in last season, and with the squad we have, we could win it with the right results and the right run of fixtures. And of course the Champions League, which we finished in the semi-final. Without copping 2 red cards over in 2 different games in the first and second leg of the semi, we maybe could have made the final as well, arguably too. We only lost 1 game in the whole competition, and it was the second leg of the semi-final. So with that being said, you can see the writing is on the wall, and this is the thing that why long-term English saves to me, with clubs in the Championship or in the Prem, I don't do too much on. They usually might stream at the end of a season, say like Fulham last year, because it doesn't take me too long. And in comparison with Fulham, in my 3rd season, my first year in the Champions League, I won the Champions League. So I can see the writing on the wall for Leicester, but I want this to be my long-term save. And why is that? Well, 2 reasons. Firstly, for those that don't know, I play poker semi-professionally. I have a massive tournament series in the back end of August after my birthday, where I'm going to be gone till the 29th of August for about 10 to 12 days, grinding away. So that's going to kill a large portion of August, and leading to September or October, we'll start getting some news when FM24 is going to come out. Secondly, after those dates, I do plan on streaming a little bit more of, online poker too. And obviously the save by that stage should be completed, but I still want to have those days where my off and rest days where I still get to play FM. For those that are looking for any sort of poker content, by the way, links down below is always to my poker Instagram, where during tournament series, where I'll go play live series and occasionally go play live cash as well, I do post hand breakdowns and recaps, evaluations, all that sort of stuff. So if you're into that, they're there. If you don't know what that is, but if you want to see if you can understand that and have some understanding of poker, I do have some pins of some of my deep runs there too, which you're more than happy to click through. And yeah, look, if you're into that, that is there for you as well. But that's the first bit of this. I'm obviously going to be away, and after August, it's going to be more of a shift to not FM than FM for me. So with that being said, we need this save to kind of not drag on till then, but to keep us invigorated till that moment. The second reason why I want to do this is I haven't really done this in England. I did an 1860 save where it was like youth only. I'm not turning this into youth only, but I want to have the goal of building the best 18s and the best under 21s that I can. Now, if you look at my facilities, they're pretty well class here at Leicester. If you look at my intakes of late, we got 1 really good player in season 1. Sorry, my cold is still playing up. 1 really good player in season 1. No one really good in season 2, and no one really good in season 3. Now, I will say that, players that come out with 3-star potential, if they hit that full potential, are decent to good Premier League players, which ain't the worst, but we obviously need a little bit better. So what we've done over the last 2 seasons is we have been signing quite a number of, notably more English than not, talent from other clubs around the Premier League and a few other clubs from around the world where I've seen a 5-star player and go, you're going to be really good, we're going to bring you in, we're going to develop you, and you're going to be one of the guys that we use long term. And my way that I want this save to go once we complete the actual gist of this main save is I'm going to focus on building the best 18s, the best 21s, and the best team that I can to have a generation of players coming through. And if we play 5 or 6 seasons after we complete everything, I want to see as many players as we can that we can push in up the ranks to get into the first team. I want to be in a spot where I've got such a good 18s and 21s that they could all jump into my first team. That's kind of the goal, which could be exciting long term. And these are the group of players that are going to start leading that line. And we're going to get into who they are right now. Now, for those wondering, who these players may or may not be, I note players on FM. I've started doing that a little bit more in this FM, mainly during Glory Hunter. So I was like, oh, I saw him here. I saw him there. What's his career look like? Oh, that's a guy's got a note. Let me see what the notes from when I played someone down like 18 seasons in. Really helped out when I went back and started playing Raul Hippus every season at the end of the save and realised 5 of the guys I took for in season 3 was still there in season 17. It was quite cool. Now, we've got other guys here too, but if you have a look through here, there's a lot of signings here with some notes on them. As you can see, season 1, not really anything. And in our first season, not really anything as well. But we've started doing this in the last couple of seasons. So we're going to go through the players, who they are. In the comment section, let me know who you think is got potential to be really good. Let me know who's going to be the biggest flop. I've already got one in mind that's going to be the biggest flop. And I'm going to explain how I'm signing these players where it's a little bit less risk-free for me, where we haven't really had any good overall balance, but we have always had good transfer budget here at Leicester. So without further ado, I'm going to start with the one that is, and this is the first team, whatever, and it is going to be Adam Lynch. We know about how good he is. Yes, disregard the downward arrows, because you've also seen him with a lot of upward arrows in other episodes. For those that don't know, he's the only good intake player that's come through my youth intake where you just write him down. 5-star potential. He's been my hot prospect up until I signed him a new deal. This season he has 2 goals and an assist in 3 games, and he's only started 1. We know that he is the epitome of what we would love to have happen with our own academy. Get these sort of guys through every year. As much as we have world-class facilities and we've got world-class staff and, we've got Mr. Crawley, who's our, head of youth, who's one of the best head of youth around, we're not getting the intakes that we should. Now, with that being said, Adam Lynch is someone that I will say is a bit of a weird player. And for those that don't know how I work it, kids at 18 years of old, if they got any stats that's 11 plus, they generally get to 15. Definitely 12 plus will get to 15. And if those stats get to 15, I put them in gold. I call them the golden stats. If there's 15 more stats at 15 plus, I think they're world class. He's someone that could have anywhere between 14 or 13. And on his really good potential days, 15 to 19. That's a really good amount of stats there for Adam Lynch. I think he's someone that's definitely someone we need to look through. And in terms of how we got him, pretty simple. On his note, as it says, Season 1, best prospect intake player. Very easy note to have a look at. So he's the first guy that I want to speak about. The second guy I want to speak about is actually on loan from the football club as well. And his name's Will Alves, and he came through the academy as well. He's another one in that mould. He's another one with this sort of potential. And players with that potential, if they hit that potential, are a good Premier League player. So anyone with this sort of potential, if they hit it, is really good. Only problem is you see a lot of the time they stop at 2.5, which is a decent player or a leading championship player, which is not good enough. I've loaned him to Atletico. Thought we'll mention him. He's there in real life, so thought we'll mention Will Alves. The other one, though, is Rochella Yaya. We signed him this year, and I think there's no way where this kid's not going to be good. He's the best French prospect that I've seen so far in the save in Season 4. We signed him, obviously, for 14 mil all up front with no fees. He's very good. Now, the only issue with him is what I want to do is keep this talent here, so they're playing the 21s and the 18s. He's too good, and for the sake of the actual winning the Premier League, the Champions League, the community, the Cabaret Cup, etc., I've loaned him back to France to get him playing, where I want to keep most of this talent here so they become homegrown at Leicester. He's one that I'm willing to say, he is who he is. He's out on loan for a reason. Go do what you need to do and come back. Now we're going to focus more on the under 21s and the under 18s. We've only got one guy in the 18s here, which is Chris Asby, who came through my intake in season 2 of this save. He's one of those guys, if he hits his potential, is not bad. Now, I don't think he's going to be, but this has been the best sort of striker or the best sort of region that's been coming through in the last few seasons. You know, he's someone that's got good flair, leadership, headering, and he's fairly well rounded with a lot of 10s and 9s. These are the sort of guys that could actually be good for the save in terms of making the under 21s really good long term, and someone that you can probably keep in the 21s till they're 21, 22, then release. That's something that I am thinking of doing. And yet again, if he does grow physically quite a fair bit, he could actually be usable. But yeah, that's the kind of things with like Chris Aspie. For those wondering what his note is, best regen in Season 2, he was. If he's my best regen in Season 2, hence why I've started signing players. Now, we've got a lot of guys noted in this team. No one below here. And this is the problem with my 21s. As much as there is some players here, there is not enough of a squad to make them good. They've won 2 and drawn 2 to start the season, which is great. Now we're just going to go in order on the way up. We've already seen Chris Asby. Adam Preston came out in Season 1. And to be fair to him, I think he's not bad. He's 6'3". He's got well-rounded physicals, decent, good determination. He's got decent one-on-ones and good reflexes. If he hits his potential, he will be a decently good Premier League keeper. We got young Jacob, who's 24, but has been at Leicester basically his whole life, who's a real-life player there, and it's their backup and is homegrown. I expect to see Adam Preston actually develop into a good enough player that he will be usable in the save. We're looking at creating the best under 21s, the best 18s, and more importantly, the best team of homegrown talent that we can, and a lot focused on what we're trying to do. Let me know what you think of Adam Preston in the comments section. I think he's relatively good. Obviously, I'm putting Adam Lynch on that pedestal, but I actually think he's been not a bad intake player for ourselves. But now let's get into the players that we signed. So Giuliano we signed from Norwich, 4.5 mil, all up front, just bang, up front, which is great. And most of these deals, I'm going to explain the deals, why they're low risk. Firstly, 4.5 mil for this sort of kid, Brazilian Englishman, coming from Norwich. As you can see, other nationality is English. He's fairly well-rounded. If you hit 3-star potential, you're a good Premier League player, which we've got to remember. 5-star is like, oh, you potential to be world-class. 3-star like this with a potential 4-star, you're good to potentially really good for the Prem. What I like about him is he's physically well-rounded, he's mentally well-rounded with a lot of 10s, technically well-rounded, where he may not grow in a world-class, he's probably going to grow into someone usable. And for me, he is someone that we need to keep an eye on. So that's Giuliano. Agu's the one that I think will flop the most. But let me know what you think of him. If you look at his note here, it is not the greatest footballer, but could hit good 15s in the areas that you need. Now, if you look at him as an advanced playmaker and support, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stats that are highlighted there could probably get there. Like his technicals, as much as they're shocking, they could actually hit 15s in the areas where you need. The flair should get to 15. The vision should get to 15. Everything else has got 8s and 9s that are going to grow. He's the sort of guy that if he developed well, could be interesting. Now, I picked him up from Spurs for 6.5 mil. Pay like 2.5 mil up front, 4 mil over clauses. And this is where I limit everything. It potentially could rise to 17, but he needs to play 50 games for me, score 20 goals, play 20 matches for Nigeria or England. And over that, that's the clauses. That's what I'm doing. I'm signing kids cheap, but with a lot of potential future clauses. If they play 50 games, score goals, and start playing for England, well, then they're going to be good enough for me to give you the 18 mil that you're asking for. And that's what we're doing. So Agu's that one that we've done. Bit of a punt, off we go. Stavro has got Cypriot background. I like him because of how well-rounded he is. And again, a lot of 10s, which is not bad. I picked him up because he got in the team of the year. Team of the year for the Euros, just gone. He was originally at Sunderland, and it was their best prospect. I also gave him one of their keepers. Someone that can play through the spine at 6 foot. Always happy to have someone that can play through the spine. Very well-rounded mentals and physicals. Is someone that I reckon could be part of the first team in 4 to 5 years' time. That's the thing. We've got it under 23s. They can play, or under 21s, they can play till they're 21, 22, and then we can bring them into the first team squad. And that's the plan here. These guys will mostly, unless they get a really good loan bid, are going to stay here and play long term. Now, one that I'm really excited about is actually Phillips. Now, Phillips to me looks like a world beater. This kid is going to be different level of gravy. 7.25 mil, could raise up to 20, roughly. He looks unreal. For me, he's just too good. He's got 15s around and dribbling and finishing and teamwork and flair and determination. Lacks a little bit technically. He's one that at 17 years of age will play under 21 football this year, and expect to see this guy in and around my first team squad in the next 2 years. He's someone that can play off the left, the right, and up front. And especially when we turn this aim into focusing more homegrown, I think this kid's going to be fantastic. So let me know what you think of him as a youth intake player. I really put him in the pedestal of my top 3 with Adam Lynch, and I think he's really good, and Yaya, obviously. Now, Luis Guillermo Silva is one of the kids that we just signed, and Mexico's best regen. Everyone knows why we signed him, because he's fantastic. Wonder kid, nearly won next gen. Scoring goals, playing up front. I think he's great. I'm going to train him to play on the left eventually as well. Expect this kid's already in my first team. Expect to see him part of this season off the bench as well. Obviously, very quick player's going to break the match engine. If he hits his mentals and his physicals keep growing and his technicals grow, he's going to be a very good winger or a player up front. He has scored in the Premier League with an assist this season too, which is nice as well. Got to go to Warren next. This is who's deemed to be our best hot prospect, is Stuart Warren. And Warren is a 16-year-old that we signed at 15 years of age from Sheffield Wednesday. And you get excited when you sign 15-year-olds. You have to, because they have the most potential to grow. Anything that's 9 and 10 as a 15-year-old, as long as they develop quickly, they are going to hit there too. 5-star potential as a left back, could be someone at 22, 23 that is playing for me full time. Another one that is in that top 3, escalent top 3. It's like Adam Lynch, Warren, and Phillips are like my top 3. If I'm discounting the Mexican, which I signed, and Yaya, who I've signed and loaned out. Warren, for me, is someone that's, again, well-rounded. You know, anything that's 9 and 10, especially physically at 15, 16, generally gets pretty close to 15 overall, which is really good. He's also got well-rounded enough mentals and with decent determination and decently well-rounded technicals. He's someone that might not be on quote-unquote 15 stats of 15 world-class, but he might be someone that's quote-unquote that well-rounded that he's virtually world-class. And that's what we need, and that's the sort of players that we're targeting. And if we find guys like this, they're going to keep filling up the squad. And over the years, when he goes into the under-21s full-time, because I can play 18s at the moment, I'll start signing a couple other left-backs that are a bit younger and hopefully get some intakes as well. Lucky last one is Thomas Garcia, and this one's a bit of a funny one. I've never seen a kid, when I do my scouting, which for people wondering how I scout for regens is pretty much, you go like this, you get to 18 years of age, and you go to 13, and you pick like 15 of 37, 16 of 37 means I'm probably missed a stat in here somewhere, 36. All right, and you go and see what comes up, This is someone that comes up that is happy, is a young striker, for instance. See what I mean? How well-rounded he is, leadership, teamwork, flair, physically well-rounded. Game doesn't think he's that good, but, he comes up and is that well-rounded. I search like that because you find that very well-rounded talent, and then anyone that's on that list that is like 5-star potential, you snap up because they're pretty good. Like, I actually think he's a lot better. He's 6'7". I'm in love. You're 6'7". Well, okay, we're signing a player now. Yes, we're signing you. Mate, I'll just give you a mil. What do you say to that? Done. I just saw that he's 6'7". He would be the perfect backup striker. I'm actually going to loan him back because he wouldn't get a work permit. And see what I mean? That's how I scout for my players. And then when they come up on that list, you're just like, hello. And then there'll be a couple that are not interested in coming on this list as well. Like, you take this off. It's only one player that gets on there that's 16 out of 13. You go to 12s and all of a sudden there's 142. Out of those 142, you've got like 101. So then you probably match 17 now. And that's what I do to scout these players here. And straight away, there's some 16-year-olds out there. There's guys with some potential. As you can see, there's a lot of guys that I've scouted with some potential, etc. This guy's already travelling to joining Liverpool. See what I mean? Missed out on him. He would be a really good centre-back. He's going to be a world beater. But that's how he's going to scout, etc. as well. So yeah, look, sign someone in the episode. But yeah, Warren looks good. And this is how Garcia came out. And I've never had this happen to me with Garcia. But a club released him. Lannis released him on a free. I actually, if you watch last episode, you've seen me bring him in on trial and go, okay, you're coming in. very well-rounded, looks out of this world, great development already, very, very, very usable. Anything that's really 12 plus is probably going to get to 15. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Termination's a bit hard. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Like if they all hit, which they should, that's 16 stats of 15 plus. That makes him super duper well-rounded. Decided not to loan him out this year to get him used to English football, but will probably go out on loan in the future. But he's another one that could come in. And with us not having too much money at the football club, that's kind of what I'm doing. So the whole point of this episode is we've got some really good youth kids. You would not have seen that throughout my previous 2 seasons of episodes. But they are the big moment, the big ticket items, and the big ticket players of who are coming through the academy. And the long term of this aim is once we complete everything, still will be the occasional episode for YouTube. It might be 3 episodes a season or something just to highlight what's been going on. But with that being said, we've got a lot of good kids coming through. Obviously, it's not going to be a case of completely safe, sell everybody on this list, but I would then be open up to sell the likes of Mateus Cunha. I would sell the Smith Rose. I would probably accept bids now all of a sudden for Jose Marsha and Tamori and, probably keep a few more of the homegrown guys, sell the rest on, and then bleed in these youngsters. And then when we get to like 10 seasons down the track, it's all going to be the youngsters. And that's the whole plan of this. So yeah, look, I know that's a bit of a wordy episode, but at least in this episode, you've seen the players that we're thinking of, what the plans are long-term for the save. You saw how we scout for players and we've actually put a bid in for one and I am going to sign him. Even if he doesn't get a work permit, I'm still going to sign him because I've just loaned him out to Spain for a couple of years and he's 6'7" and I love that in the match engine. And yeah, if you've ever enjoyed the episode, give it a like, do subscribe to the YouTube channel. We will film this little on Twitch and hopefully, when I see you guys on the flip side, we have a game in the Premier League and the Champions League to give yous and hopefully it's a really good year for us and we can also bring in some other younger talent throughout the year or get a really good intake for the first time in a long while. With that being said, thank you for checking out the episode. Give it a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this sort of episode, maybe, when we get to the second phase of this save and we're building the 18s and the 21s, do we do an episode once a year to see how the 18s and 21s went? Maybe we could. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you and goodbye.